understand that this topic is relevant to everyone, as you mentioned that soul fragmentation can occur from a myriad of experiences, from trauma and abuse to giving away soul fragments or having them taken from you. Not many people know about this topic that could help them heal. Can you please explain the ways we experience soul loss or soul fragmentation?
Yes, of course. The topic of soul fragmentation is essential to address because most people experience a loss of soul fragments. This results in feeling disconnected or incomplete. Soul fragmentation can occur from experiences that include fear, abuse, trauma, pain, suffering, mind control programming, poisoning, shock, and loss. This form of disconnection is especially prevalent during childhood, given a child's inherent vulnerability and fragility. In my experience, I find that most fragmented people are usually the most abused or traumatized, as soul fragments of the person splinter, shatter, and hide to endure their experiences. When these fragments are returned, those parts can be healed and a person's life changes. The following footage demonstrates the healing process of when fragments are retrieved and the person is made whole. The first healing is a lady in the video who lost soul fragments when she moved countries and also when she lost a dear friendship. You'll see her pain levels reduce when her soul fragments are returned. The second example is a healing with a man called Robin Brown. He had MS and he lost his connection with people he loved in childhood. When the fragments were returned, he could walk without his cane. Now please note the last example has other footage mixed with it because it's from a highlight video and was really hard to edit out. You'll see it tonight. Well, she's had a car accident, but how come it's not removed? What have you tried to change it?
Physio, chiropractics, pain energy.
Right. Do you remember how you felt when you moved country?
Terrified.
Right. That's coming through. So I, Marisa, call upon the shamanic healers and the ancestors to return the missing soul fragments and white healing light purifying wash over your entire being. Imagine the feeling of peace and love come over yourselves. What did you feel?
Pressure.
Yep.
But it's gone. The energy was surging down to my feet.
Yep. She said she was heartbroken. And we leave our parts of ourselves so we can't heal until we bring them back. I'm going to bring this right down to 0. What's it feel now? What number?
I would say 1 or half.
Now, never. 20 years. She's tried everything. It's because I brought back those fragments and I got the ages that made sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, sweating.
But I'm not in pain.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow, got that one. Yeah, so can you walk without the cane? Can you walk at all? As you lie there, Julie, can you feel the pain? Yes. Right, so it's a lot of pain.
It was sad to see them go.
It's with somebody and it's a negative energy. You are now living the life for you, no one else. You are empowered. You're going to live a life of freedom, a life for you, empowered, strong. Great, that looks good. The nature of soul fragment at its core is an energetic part of one's essence or consciousness. It's not physical in nature, but instead an intangible part of a person's spiritual being. When an individual undergoes a traumatic or painful event, a part of their soul or consciousness can break off or splinter. In an attempt to protect the core self from the full impact of the trauma, this breaking off results in what is termed as a soul fragment. A person can also unknowingly give away parts of themselves to aid another person, and people can take or steal these soul fragments. In modern psychological terms, the concept of soul fragmentation can be likened to disassociation, where parts of an individual's consciousness detach due to traumatic experiences. Severe trauma like physical or emotional abuse, accidents, natural disasters, or witnessing violence can cause soul loss as the psyche tries to escape the traumatic moment. The sudden or prolonged loss of a loved one can result in a part of one's soul departing, especially if the grief is profound and not adequately processed. Breakups, especially when they're unexpected or particularly hurtful, can lead to feelings of losing a part of oneself, often attributed to soul fragmentation. Drastic changes such as moving to a new country, adjusting to a new culture, or changing careers can also lead to feeling of disconnection or loss, as one may leave parts of themselves behind. Children who experience neglect, isolation, abuse, or feelings of being unwanted might also undergo soul fragmentation as a coping mechanism against the profound hurt. Deep betrayals, especially from trusted friends, family members, or partners, can lead to soul loss due to emotional pain and shattered trust. Major surgeries or life-threatening illnesses can cause an individual to lose a part of their soul, especially if there's a near-death experience involved. Persistent substance abuse or other addictions can result in soul fragmentation as the individual tries to escape their reality, leading to further disconnection. Soldiers and individuals in conflict zones can experience severe trauma leading to soul loss, often manifesting as PTSD. In some instances, acts using rituals, black magic, or curses can also lead to soul fragmentation. Symptoms of soul loss include disassociation or feeling disconnected from oneself, a sense of powerlessness and confusion, feelings of depression and anxiety, feeling incomplete or something is missing, feeling stuck or trapped, gaps in memory or forgetting significant life events, struggling to maintain control in various aspects of your life, feeling grief even when there's no reason, indecisiveness and unable to make choices, illness or health conditions that won't heal, feeling brokenhearted or shattered, feeling that someone else is part of you and their choices affect you, trying to fill a void through addictions, feeling a strong sense of wanting to control another person or being controlled by another, lacking energy and vitality. You feel your life is fragmented or shattered, disconnection to your personal guidance system or source, lack of integrity and apathy to do the right thing.
Wow, there are so many ways we can lose parts of ourselves or lose our soul fragments. Can you give more insights into what happens when someone else has a fragment of our soul?
The consequence of soul fragmentation can lead to feelings of incompleteness, chronic illness, depression, anxiety, and other emotional or psychological disturbances. It also includes loss of vitality and personal power, making you feel disconnected from yourself or your surroundings. When you say phrases like, I lost part of myself when, or I felt like my childhood was stolen, can show that soul fragmentation occurred. Forgetting ourselves in the pursuit of caring for others can also lead to loss of soul fragments, like lovers sharing their intimacy or a mother trying to shield her child. These transactions are not without consequence, as the receiving person harnesses the energy of someone else's soul fragment. The giver, in turn, grapples with an unstable energy balance, often without realizing it. Over time, this depletion manifests as feelings of emptiness or resentment. This emptiness often leads people to distractions trying to fill the void they unknowingly created, and can involve trying to control the person who has their soul fragment. Another aspect of soul fragmentation is soul stealing. It can be deliberate or unintentional. For instance, a person might admire or feel jealousy towards someone else to the point of unintentionally coveting their essence. Take the case of a weight loss advisor who felt energetically depleted as clients constantly expressed a desire to be like her. Only upon understanding soul fragmentation did she recognize her energy loss. Retrieving her soul fragments brought back her vitality. When someone exerts dominance over another, for example in an abusive relationship, they might take a piece of their soul as their intention is to control the other person. Over time, this depletion manifests as feelings of emptiness or resentment, and the person feeling stuck and unable to leave the person dominating them.
Is selling your soul the same as soul loss or soul fragmentation? And what does it mean to sell your soul?
Selling your soul can be equated to soul loss. The extent of this loss correlates with the severity of the compromise. Minor transgressions might leave little to no impact, but significant actions that conflict with your core values can lead to a profound sense of losing a part of oneself. A person who is integral will tangibly feel when they compromise themselves and notice a difference in their energy or spiritual state. Some people are so detached and disconnected that they don't recognize any loss, persisting on a path that further erodes their soul's integrity. It's a vicious cycle. There are some celebrities who confess to selling their soul for fame, material or worldly gains. Some admit to signing a contract in blood or perform certain deranged rituals to seal the agreement.
Thank you to Satan for giving me inspiration on how to play this role.
And if your ultimate goal is to be famous, then you're gonna do a lot to get there. Like sign your name in blood in a contract with the devil. Like you're gonna end up on a one-way street, and it's going nowhere.
Well, it goes back to the destiny thing. I mean, I made a bargain with it, a long time ago, and I'm holding up my hand.
What was your bargain?
To get where I am now.
Should I ask who you made the bargain with?
with the chief commander.
On this earth?
And on this earth, and then in the world we can't see.
Why is your hand over your eyes?
Because I'm a devil worshiper. What are you talking about?
Have you because I swear I wanted to be like the Amy Grant of music.
Yeah.
But it didn't work out, and so I sold my soul to the devil.
This concept has been part of human culture and literature for centuries. At its core, it signifies making a pact, often with a devilish or evil entity, to obtain something in exchange for one's spiritual essence or integrity. And there are many who will freely sign away their soul. I once saw a post for getting fame and fortune if the person agreed to give their soul to Satan. The responses were interesting, as many willingly offered their soul as they said they were so tired of living a hard life and agreed to the request. The notion of selling one's soul can be traced back to various ancient civilizations and religions. For example, in Christianity, the story of Faust is one of the most renowned tales about a man who makes a pact with the devil, Mephistopheles, to obtain knowledge and pleasure for a set number of years, after which his soul would belong to the devil. Reversing this process is probably the most difficult and is not usually attempted by a practitioner due to the karmic consequences involved. Our souls are battered by the traumas of this life and are also carried over from past lives. To heal and attain our destined greatness, these fragments must be returned. So how do you discern if your soul needs mending? Well, gauge your inner peace, your connection and alignment with integrity, your instincts, source or God. It's a feeling like coming home after a long journey, feeling whole and complete. Recovery and integration of soul fragments is usually done through shamanic practitioners, spiritual healers, and some energy workers. They use a process called soul retrieval to identify and reintegrate those lost fragments. This process involves journeying to the spirit world, locating the lost fragments, and bringing them back to reintegrate with the person's core soul or consciousness. Once fragments are returned, the individual often undergoes a process of healing and reintegration. This might involve confronting and resolving the trauma that led to the fragmentation. The process is a journey and often ongoing, as one part that is returned needs to integrate and heal before another part can also return. So I'd like to share some of the soul retrievals and soul integration that I've had over the years, and they've been very profound and very tangible and life-changing. And I've had quite a few, and one of them was after I had a very big inner child healing. It was a 2-hour healing that changed my life. And the following day, I had the soul retrieval. And there was also a long healing, because the process when you do healing is you can't move forward until there's enough energy to then go do the next process. Otherwise you'll create a healing crisis. You have to ensure that there are safety guards. So this is another 2-hour healing. And then as this fragment finally came back, it felt like a knife stabbing me in the heart. And I physically felt the pain, and then I just burst into tears. And the pain was the pain of when this soul fragment had disappeared. And I don't know if it was this life or another lifetime, because I've had so much trauma that who knows. And after the healing, there was this amazing peace and reintegration of myself, and just feeling like I belonged more, that I was more complete. So I'd like to share another example of soul fragmentation or soul retrieval. And that was with a client, and she was married and she came to Australia. She was from the UK, and she had a work here, and she was carrying out her work and trying to live her life. But her father was very interfering and very controlling, and it used to baffle me that how could somebody so far away cause you so much conflict and so much stress and anxiety. And I was just thinking, just don't answer the phone call. And she did come over after he had come for a visit. He said, I'm coming over for Christmas. And she didn't say no, yet she didn't like him. And he came over, and it was a disaster. And so she came for another healing. And this was before I actually created forensic healing, but I still had other processes, and I still did soul retrieval. And what happened was, at age 16, she attempted suicide, and her father found her, and he had to call the ambulance. But could you imagine sort of the shock of a father seeing his child on the floor in the kitchen, like could have been dead? I think she took an overdose, and the shock of that, and then wanting to help. Well, in that moment that he had seen her, and in the shock, he actually gave away part of himself to her so that she would live unconsciously. We do these things unconsciously, and often this can be something that has been done in a past life, because it reenacts all the time until we align ourselves and heal ourselves. And so when I came to that epiphany that, oh, he gave you his soul fragment, that is why he is so controlling. And when we returned, or I did the process of returning the soul fragment, the next time I saw her, it was as if there was never an issue. She goes, oh no, he's fine, my father's fine. He's not controlling at all. Yet all I'd heard that he had been like that for years. But until that moment of giving back what was his, then balance came about. Otherwise, it can be a reason someone tries to control another person. So I'm going to continue with the story that I told in the curses topic about a guy called Greg who I'd met, and he had put a love curse, love voodoo on me. The reason why I knew it was voodoo was because back in the old days, they would, to put on a curse, love curse on someone, they would get a voodoo doll, and the voodoo usually has something of that person, whether that's their hair or DNA or something, because then it activates as them, and you would put it on your pillowcase next to you and sleep with it, and it would invoke the curse for someone to fall in love with you. And because I remember when I was with him, I'd say, I don't want to date you. I don't, you're not my type. And yet I couldn't not do it. But also what occurred is that he had one of my soul fragments. Now, I got that information very clearly, very easily. It all came through, not through my mind or my intuition. It all appeared to me. I always get the information. It appeared, and I was in a Facebook group, and someone posted this post about this person, and anyway, the stories, I don't want to tell you too much about the story, but I found out, yes, that was him in a past lifetime. He was my father, and I prayed that he would not go to purgatory and go straight to God. But the story was that I had prayed that my father, would go straight to God and wouldn't go through purgatory, and then I felt something leave me, and I felt pain after that. So that's in the story of he and I in this past life. So yes, it all sounds a bit strange, but hey, we're dealing with energy, and if you live in my world, it's very tangible. In fact, it's so tangible that I have to obey the law of attraction. I don't do what I want. I obey the law of attraction because it will prove me wrong. I will suffer. And so I've learnt to be very obedient. I feel like, and I'd always say this, I feel like I've got a cop sitting in the back seat of my car, and if I do one thing wrong, I get a ticket and it costs me. Well, the same thing happens in this lifetime. It's just how I operate. So if I keep in integrity and I keep aligned and I must follow my instincts, I'm always guided and I get very clear answers. So after I returned the soul fragment, it was a huge relief, and it explains why I felt suicidal after he disconnected from me. It made sense why I felt so pulled towards him, yet I didn't want to be with him. The whole thing made sense because I'm a very strong person and I've got a very strong mind and a very strong will, but yet I had just no control over that situation. So the relief was huge, but as I said, it took me years to just recover from the actual trauma of what spiritual stuff can do to you. So soul fragmentation is basically what I will do with every single client, because we are so fragmented. The world is fragmented. That is why the world is in the state that it's in, because we've been traumatized. And when we heal ourselves, we heal the world. And this process of pulling back fragments, because people take them, or people steal them, or people, or you give them away, or they just hide, or they just splinter from you. And they can be large parts of you and they can be smaller parts of you. I remembered someone's face came to my mind as I was jogging, because I just thought I'd get some clean energy, and I think I was doing meditating before I think I went for the jog. And it was so weird because I thought, oh, she's got part of my fragment. And I pulled it back as I was doing this jog, and then I was breathing so deeply. I was yawning and breathing and yawning, and this yawning and breathing went on till I got home, until I finally was gasping for air, until I probably lasted 30 minutes in total. But after I had finished the yawning and breathing, so pulling back this fragment, I could actually take a full breath. Before I didn't even know, but I would breathe and it would stop at my neck. And then now I can just go this full breath and out. And the more I heal myself, the calmer my energy is. I still feel energy, but I don't move as much. It sort of has just aligned my body. And I just bring back parts of myself, and then I become whole, and then my life becomes whole. If you have a fragmented life, it's probably a reflection of your soul being fragmented. In the upcoming video, review, reflect, and respond, you'll discover how to return your soul fragments and how to draw them back and become whole, and learn how to continue making your energy more whole and more complete, so that your life will reflect whole and complete without you having to do anything. It's the universal law, as within, as without, as above, so below. So the more you just become whole, the more life changes in front of you. So I'll see you then.